First thing we need to do is we need to make a slab of clay using the slab roller. If you have a cast or some part of your hand that you cannot get dirty because of an injury, for example, I had to hurt my finger, so I have a plastic glove. Just ask me for a plastic glove and I'll get one for you to cover your cast or whatever you need to cover up. Next week when you come in to make your drape pot, half the class will make your own slab first, and then the other half will get a slab already made for you from the previous class and get started on step 2 right away. At the end of class, those that did not get to use the slab roller will come back and use the slab roller at the end after they make their own clay pot, so that way the clay slabs that they've made will go for the next class coming next. To use the slab roller, everyone at your table will be using this machine together. I will need one person on one side to help pull, stabilize the canvas, 2 people on the other side to help pull the canvas through, and 1 person to roll the roller through. So once you have this clay, everyone will have their slab in between 2 pieces of canvas. For today's demonstration, I will do all the rolls that your table will do. But in the next time, you will get to have 2 people on this side pulling, 1 person rolling, and 1 person guiding the fabric through so it doesn't get crooked. So when you roll it through, we're going to roll it through a couple times. The first time, we're going to make sure it just gets flattened evenly. The next time, we'll go a little bit shorter. I will turn the knobs at the top. And then we'll rotate so everyone gets a chance to turn the wheel. After the second time it's rolled through, we're going to lift up the canvas and turn the clay. If we don't turn the clay will stay as a rectangle, and we want it to be a nice circle, or really close to a circle. So we'll turn it, cover it back up, roll again. Switch people at the roller again, and we'll roll it one more time. And then when you're done, you will have a slab of clay about as thick as your pinky, which is 1/4 inch thick. Now you're ready for step 2. Once you have your slab of clay, which is about as thick as your pinky, you're going to go to step 2. Step 2. You can cut out a large shape or leave it the shape it is. Put extra clay in the middle of the table. If you want to leave it just the shape it is and use all of your clay, go to step 3. However, if you want to make a star, a heart, a square, a ice cream cone, whatever shape you'd like, you can go ahead and pencil it out lightly with your clay pencil. It's on the second shelf of the clay cart, which we'll have out next week. You're going to draw out your shape very lightly. You don't want to go in deep. If you go in deep, then you can't erase. Once you go lightly, go ahead. It's very lightly. You can make a decision. If you like it, go ahead and cut it out. If you don't like it, you can erase it with your fingertip and redraw it. If I like what I see, I can take my clay pencil and cut it out and put your extra bit of clay in the middle of the table. Once you take it off, you cannot reuse it for this project. Step 3. I have my shape now. I'll go to step 3. Step 3. Smooth out the edges and cracks with your finger and a little water if needed. If you have some chunks up here, that's going to turn into sharp pieces when it gets into the bisque fire. So we want to smooth it out with our finger. If we have if you need, you can use a little bit of water. A little water goes a long way. If you're going to use some water, just put your tip of your finger in the water and go gently around the edge. You do not want to use too much water, otherwise it will become very muddy and hard to work with. Your big goal is to get the nubbins off. The nubbins are little pieces of clay that are sticking up. Don't forget to do both sides, so flip your clay over and get the nubbins or the sharp edges off on the other side as well. And sometimes the little nubbins come off as little pieces of clay. Just put those in the middle of your table. You're going to recycle those at the end of class. Once you have both sides of the edges of your clay pot smoothed out, go to step 4. Step 4, choose a texture and roll it into the clay. You should probably decide what side you want the inside to be and decide what kind of textures you want. I have texture mats. This one looks like rocks. This one looks like wood. This one looks like a basket weave. And this one looks like bricks. If you don't like these, you can bring your own texture in. You can also use things that I have on the second shelf of the clay cart, including seashells, wooden tools that you can draw using with. Let's see. I also have plants, interesting objects that people have donated over time. This used to be part of a light switch in a house. This used to be an iron, I think it was wax iron. You iron the wax beads on there. This used to be latch hooking. Someone brought in old keys. Whatever objects you think will create a cool texture that you would like, and you're going to roll it in. For example, if I choose to put some leaves in there, I'm going to take that and use a small rolling pin and roll it down. You want to be careful you do not roll too hard to flatten out your clay too much. Remember, we want to keep it as thick as your pinky, otherwise it could crack. Now if you're using a tool like this where you only have one of them but you want it in different places, pick it up and move it over in the other area. Maybe I'll put my leaf pattern back over here. And here's an example of how this texture turned out. Step 5, flip your clay and roll some more textures on the other side of your clay. Be careful not to roll too hard, otherwise the texture that you just created on this side will disappear. So let's try one of these texture plates. I'll try the one with rocks. You put the whole texture plate over down on top of it, and you want to roll your texture over the top of it. Make sure you get all parts of it. Again, be careful you don't roll too hard. And pick it up. And this is the one that looks like rocks. You can check your other texture. You can see how this side, the texture did disappear just a little bit. So you have to be careful when you're rolling. You don't roll out your other texture on the other side. Step 6, get a paper towel. Now the paper towel I have been working on, you'll notice is kind of damp because the moisture from the clay went into the paper towel. So I'll set that aside because I'm going to just throw or recycle this paper towel. This is a dry and clean paper towel, and you need to get a bowl to drape your pot on. You get to decide. I have little cups you can drape it on, bigger cups like this or like this. If you don't like these forms, you can bring your own form from home. For example, I had a student give me this form that had something in it at one time. You can bring this from home or any other form that you have. Use your imagination. What kind of things do you have at home that you can drape your clay over? If you choose to do something like this, or whatever form you choose, you're going to then go to step 7. Place your paper towel on your bowl or your form here. Then decide which side is going to be the inside of your clay pot. So do I want this to be on the inside of my clay pot or this texture on the inside? I kind of like the plant texture, so I'm going to choose to go with this one. I'm going to set it the middle of it, right over the middle of my drape, of my form. Right now it's not terribly exciting. We're going to go on to step 8. Step 8, form the edges using your fingers. So I'm going to now use my fingers to help make my clay pot a little bit more interesting around my form. The reason we have to have a paper towel that's sitting on top of my tin is because I don't want the clay to stick to this form. So I'm going around and I'm using my finger to actually create a little bend around the edges because it's kind of like a star. Okay, so get the form the way you like it. You'll notice my edges are a little bit better there. Okay, then go to step 8. Bring your project to the teacher to write your name and class on the bottom of your finished drape pot. Go ahead and I will hopefully have a parent volunteer and myself, that will be, you can create a line behind us or in front of us, and then you'll just need to spell your name. For example, let's say your name is Sam G. Please tell me how to spell your name, and the reason is I'm going to concentrate on making sure there's no nubbins with your letters. So if your name is Sam, you would say S. Give me a moment to write it down, the S, and I'll get rid of the nubbins. A, M, and then you'll want your last initial, so just tell me the last initial, for example, G. And there's the example of the name written on the bottom. Now I'm going to be putting probably about 75 clay pots in the kiln at once, which means I will be mixing up classes. There might be more than one Sam in 3rd grade, so to help me out you need to put your class. For example, if you are from Mrs. Brandt's class, you're going to write 3, or tell me 3-B for Brandt. That way when I take it out of the kiln, I will make sure that I get your clay pot back with your class clay pots in their box. So it says 3-B. Step 10. Set your project carefully in one of the boxes by the sink. You're going to keep your project on top of your form. If you brought your own form, make sure you label your form with your name on it with just using a piece of tape, so when it dries, you'll get your form back. So if you brought it in this tin, for example, you get your tin back. You just want to set it right inside the box, just like that. I'm going to let it dry overnight, and then the next day I will take it off. But for now, for all that you do in class, is you let it dry. If you did not glaze, or if you did not make a slab using the slab roller, now's the time to come up to me and we'll go ahead and continue making slabs using the slab roller. The slabs that you make will be for the next class students that get started right away. If you've already made a slab, you were one of the first ones making a slab on the slab roller, you need to start cleaning up your table areas. Remember, all your textures get to go back on the second shelf. If you brought any textures, you can take them back home today. If you are the cleaner, you can take your clay, extra clay, all extra clay not used needs to go in the recycle bin. Do not put it in the paper recycle bin, but the white big bin, and I will show you where that is next. Take your recycled clay that you are no longer using, and it's right by the timekeeper clipboard. You're going to open this drawer. There is a white container that has a lid on it. Open the lid and put your clay in there. Don't play with the clay there, just let it sit, and close the lid tight so that way it stays airtight. Then close up this, and I will recycle that back in the pug meal at another time.